Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going.
Dramatization.
Bad drivers cause car wrecks. Not paying attention to the road, operating electronic devices, and drinking while driving can lead to serious injuries. If you've been the victim of a bad driver, a trial lawyer may be able to help you recover money to pay your medical bills, reimburse you for lost wages, and compensate you for the pain caused by your injuries. If you, your friends, or family have been injured in a car wreck, contact me, Attorney Dennis Sperling, toll free, 866-529-2444. I'm here to help. What's going on, you guys? This is Dennis Sperling, and I am back again to talk to you all about another subject that men typically don't really talk about. That is age-appropriate time to have children. Now, my advice to you guys is do not enter into a serious relationship until after you hit your late 30s and early 40s. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into some detail about exactly what I mean by that and why it actually makes sense. Now, before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to the Wrench Mob. That's all the guys that keep the chat room regulated, free of obscenities and porn. We don't want any obscenities and porn in here because we don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. But for the most part, man, just kick back and just enjoy this conversation. This actually is going to be something that is reminiscent of I guess, a rant that I did some time back on Facebook and then moved it over to YouTube, which is such at this point has received 50,000 views. But either way, here's the thing, fellas. As I say all the time, it's greater later. There's no need to rush into a serious relationship. All right. You young men, you're not bound by the same biological timelines that young women are. And you will probably outlive your ability to reproduce viable children. That doesn't mean there couldn't be complications if you just wait. You 80 years old trying to knock some woman up, that could be a problem. But for the most part, mid 30s, 40s, 50s, even your early 60s, you shouldn't have any problems, especially with technology. Now, the thing is, it's important to understand that the age of 40 is typically considered the age of masculinity or age of wisdom. And you'll truly understand your masculinity and your manhood. Coincidentally, that's the age when your hormonal levels drop and you begin to see things clearly. You begin to use your, as we say, you begin to use the head on your shoulders as one as opposed to the one between your legs to make major decisions. And so, you begin to think with logic and reason. In addition, your life experiences, along with your maturity, will make you a better father and a better husband if that's what you choose to do, or a life partner, or even a boyfriend if you want to have a girlfriend at that age. Furthermore, based on the same experience and maturity that you gather, you'll be able to pick a better choice of women to be your wife, and more importantly, to be the mother of your children. As an older man, right, you attain wisdom, you attain maturity, you're disciplined. You have a track record of success and consistency in that success. And my suggestion is you pick a woman in her 20s and, but you'll have your choice of women from 20 to all the way up. Now, I haven't dated a woman over 29 ever. And I know that's going to make some people angry at me, but the reason is I don't have to. And, I've dated women with children on occasion, but I found that not to be something that I found appealing because I had my own children, and I realized as much as I do for my own children, it would be impossible for me to do that amount. The sacrifices I make for my own children, I couldn't make it for some other woman's child, some other man's child. It's on them to do that because I would be stealing away from my own children's legacy, stealing away from resources and funds they need. So, I didn't bother doing that. But the bottom line is, as an older man, you have your choice. And when you maximize your success, you'll increase your options. And as and as you guys know, or what you should know, that a man is only limited by his options. And that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. A man with little options, you got no money, no social status, no car, no house, you got very few options. It's only so much talking up on it you can do. It's only so much game you can have, talk up on it. And all of that is typically temporary. Here's the other thing you got to understand. Men become more desirable with age. Why is that? Because the things women like about men, your physicality, your social status, your money, that takes time. A man's maximum earning years are between the ages of 35, and actually they're between the ages of 45 and 60. Some say you start getting on that plateau, or you start climbing that hill at 35. And then here's the thing, the time leading up to the age, before you get to that point, you should be building yourself up, building up your network, working on your education, making lifelong connections, and establishing your legacy and what you're going to be. You prove yourself up until, to yourself and to the world, and then women will be able to see that. So irrespective of the shaming language that women use, that includes your mother, your sister, your aunties, and even random women on the internet, it doesn't really matter, because the truth is they're irrelevant. There's nothing that they can do about your choices. And so for the most part, it's time for you men to begin to act like the men that you were meant to be. And that includes ignoring women and what they want and doing what you want to do and putting what's best for you first. So put yourself first, put yourself number one. And that's basically the conversation that I want to have with you guys. If you guys are ready to put yourself number one, go ahead and hit the number one button. Let me know you're ready for this conversation, because this is going to hurt some ears. It's going to make some people upset. It's going to upset the status quo. But again, that's what the manosphere is for. It's here to make sure that men know who they are, who they should be, how they should be treated. And anybody that doesn't like it, well, you just turn off, click your phone off, and go do something else. So I want to share with you guys a video, and I want to talk about it. But the first thing I want to do is I want to talk to you guys about some facts that I just stated, just to support those facts, because, Uncle D loves putting references and stuff out there to prove my point, prove my case. I guess it's something that it comes innately because I'm a lawyer. I don't like to just say things. I like to have support to back those things up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of this page here where it says investing in peak earning years, right? So let's go in here. Prime earning years are generally thought to be late 40s to late 50s. Latest figures show women peak between ages 35 and 54, men between 45 and 64. So that's pretty much what I said. What this means is, fellas, you're going to make the vast majority of the money you earn between the ages of 45 and 64. After that, most people's income typically levels off. Now, if you got 64 years under your belt and the last 20 of those years, the last 19, you ain't been able to max out, well, you wasted your time somewhere. But the bottom line is, fellas, is greater later. That's my whole point. You can look at this a little later. The reference is there. Here's another one, earning profiles for different demographic groups. Now, this is interesting. So not only are we telling you that older men generally make more money between the ages of 45 and 64, but if you look at this chart right here, fellas, all right, so we got the demographic group. We're going to slide down here to Black or black of African men. They meant black or African. The median income is $48,100. This article is from, oh my God, let me see. So the median income for black men is $48,000. The age when earnings peak. So you're going to make the most money at 59 years old. That's what that's saying, right? Now, by comparison, let's look at all men. All men peak at 55. So that's pretty much runs what we're talking about. White men peak at 53. White men peak at 54. Hispanic men peak at 57. Black women peak at 52. And then black men, last but not least, we peak at 59 years old, right? So there's no rush, fellas. Now, a lot of you are saying stuff like, well, you know, what about the ability to have children? Well, here's the thing. It's great to have children, but it's also great to have children when you can afford them. Now, I know a lot of you guys are concerned about the fact that, oh my God, my fertility, and I get it. So I pulled this article. It basically says sperm quality declines significantly after 50. Researchers say it becomes more difficult for men to father children as they age, especially if their female partner is older. Now, see, the thing is, if you have a female partner who is significantly younger, you don't have that problem that guys who have older women that they're trying to impregnate have. All right. So that's one thing, right? So just think about that. Sperm count and lifestyle factors can lead to declining quality of sperm over age. So what does that mean? If you're out there drinking beer and partying and hanging out, yeah, you're gonna have a problem. You know, if you're unhealthy, obese, that's gonna be a problem. This is something that we can work around. Optimizing male fertility. What do? Well, you know, things you want to consider that give you a hard time, right? 3 factors doctors look at, right? They look at, low sperm count, low motility, abnormally shaped sperm. Basically is you don't have a lot of viable sperm. This is motility is your swimmers ain't swimming fast enough. And then you have abnormally shaped sperm, which comes about because of genetic defects. And that has a lot to do with alcohol consumption, drug consumption, these other things. Now, what do you do to keep yourself up, keep things cool? In other words, stop wearing them tight ass European shorts. That's what you stop doing. Keep things safe. Be careful with the injuries. When you're an older man, you don't need to be out there trying to play tackle football with some young dudes, okay? Workplace toxins, your environment, where you live, where you operate, you know, are you working in some toxic chemical plant? That's going to be a problem. And here's another one, eating healthy and diet. All right, and that also should include exercise. So basically what I'm saying, fellas, if you eat healthy, you watch your environment, you take care of yourself, you'll be able to have children even well up into your 50s. It's not that big of a deal. And you can do it naturally. Now, of course, there are going to be some people who have issues, and I'm not saying wait till 50 to have children. I'm saying don't even think about getting a serious relationship until your late 30s or early 40s. And so by 50, you should have a few kids if that's what you want, but you should also have money. Now, if you guys appreciate this conversation, this is Man Talk. You know, we're men talking to other men. I'm sure there's probably not anybody but your Uncle Didi to sit up here and talk about your sperm count in a way in which it sounds dignified to help you out. And then in the same conversation, tell you about your money, right? But I want to share with you guys a story that I recorded on my blog. I want you to check this out. And then I'll talk to you guys a little bit about it. But, you know, you can hear the passion in my voice. I'm going to go ahead and let this play. You guys check this out and make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. This is bald-headed Uncle D right here, all right? So y'all check this out. I'll be right back.
I've told you guys this 100 times, and I'm going to tell you again. Do not enter into a serious relationship or get married until after you are at least 35 years old. Don't do it. Don't think about getting in a serious. Some of y'all don't even think about getting in a serious relationship until you're in your late 30s or 40s. I just got a phone call from a young lawyer who got married in his early 30s. And now, 4 or 5 years later, his woman, who is a highly paid professional medical doctor, is calling him emasculating names, disrespecting him, and trying to provoke him.
Now, basically what I'm telling you fellas is this young man got married to a woman. She's a medical doctor. He's a professional. He's an attorney. And, you know, irrespective of her education, irrespective of the fact that he's an upstanding member of the community and an educated person, he is still being disrespected. He is still being called names. Now, she is a lovely lady and he is a black man. And so what it tells you fellas is that you cannot escape the disrespect that you receive from women of our community solely based on the fact that solely based on your education or your income level. And so that's something that you don't recognize until you get older, until you've dated enough. If you are fresh out of medical school or law school, that means that from the age of 18 to about 28, right? And that's if you went straight through from the age of 18 to about 28. You went to school, so you really weren't dating. And then you did a 4-year residency. So now you're 32. And then you decide to pop up just when you get out, start making a little money. You decide to get married. You don't have enough life experience to deal with these women. These are for the professional dudes. And it's much the same for young lawyers. You go to school from 18 to 22, then 23, 3 years after that, you know, 26, 27, whatever. You get out of law school or grad school, whatever it may be. And then you decide in a couple of years you're going to get married and you're 27. You only have 3 years of experience with that woman you're dealing with. If she's 25, she might have 8 years of experience. So and on top of that, she's a woman and they mature faster emotionally, which means she's running rings around you. This is what's happening in those relationships. And so, yeah, you think she's 25 and you 28 and you're a lawyer and she's running rings. You are not prepared to deal with that emotional, the gangsterism that she's bringing to the table. So this is where this young man was. Let's continue listening.
Now, had he been able to date, travel around the world, he would have been able to spot these things early on, spot these traits from women who he doesn't need to be with. But being in his early 30s, he just got out of law school, just passed the bar. So he only had about 3 or 4 years of dating experience outside of school, which you really can't have a dating experience because you can't really do anything. You're a student. And so now this woman who's disrespecting him and calling him all sort of names, a professional woman, an educated woman, is now threatening a divorce. And it's not really anything he can do because they have children together. And so he's stuck in a relationship. On top of that, she's in her 40s. So he's already was at the disadvantage of the maturity level.
So basically, fellas, this woman that he decided to marry was an older woman anyway. So here's the thing. Here's the advantage that she has. She has years on him already, age-wise. And then on top of that, she has years on him emotional development, because women begin to develop emotionally much sooner than men. They begin to they interact with their aunties and their mothers and their sisters and all these different people, and they feed off of their emotions and their experiences. They sit around and share stuff. So little girls are sitting around learning and maturing based on what they hear from their aunties. So they're learning. And you guys, what do? We out there hitting each other with dodgeballs. We playing video games. We're not having deep intellectual conversations about how we felt or how this made us feel. This is probably the closest any of you guys have ever had to a deep conversation about life as related to relationships. And I'm just dude on the internet. You see what I'm saying? And so these women have an advantage over you. So now you're 30-some years old, man. You're about to get divorced from this 40-year-old woman. You might have met her 10 years ago, whatever. But the bottom line, she's already got you beat. She's already mature she's already got about 7 years of emotional maturity on you. and now she's gonna wreak havoc on you, man. You guys, you think, man, I'm 25, my girl 25, bro. She's running circles around you. She's already a grown woman. That's why it's ideal for older men who are mature to marry younger women, because that gives you the advantage on the emotional side. Let's continue to listen.
Disadvantage. And then on top of that, he didn't need to get married. It was plenty of time to do it. But as long as you brothers are following these female timelines, oh, I'm 30 years old, I'm 30, 33, 34, I need to go ahead and get married, I'm getting over the hill. Your life just gets started as a man at 35. You just become a man. You just hit the point where you reach your maximum or your highest earning potential at like 55. So from 35 to 55, you should be having the best time of your life. If you want to get married at that point, cool. But there's something to be said when you get married at an older age, because you have more wisdom and more discernment. You can check these women out. You'll know who you're dealing with. You'll be able to pick all that emasculating, that pre-emasculating conversation and language out early on.
See, again, fellas, what I'm saying is, with your emotional development and with your experience, you'll be able to compare and contrast. You'll see what this woman does, what that woman does. It takes time. This is not something. So you guys got master's degree in engineering, you got master's degrees in mathematics and all that. Some of us lawyers and doctors and everything. Brilliant, but stupid nonetheless. Stupid emotionally speaking. So you're brilliant, but you're stupid at the same time. And women count on that, and that's how you get preyed upon. And see, the first thing that a woman will do oftentimes is isolate you from your support group, whether it be your friends. I don't like your friends. She'll shame you out of hanging out with your friends. She'll shame you out of being around your family members almost. She'll do that because now she has you and you don't have any other input coming in. So it's just her and you are at the disadvantage. And here's the crazy part. She'll keep her friends, but make you leave your friends alone for whatever reason. Why? Well, I don't want you hanging around him because he is a single man and you're a married man, or you're a man in a relationship. And so you don't need to be with them people like that, blah, blah, blah. You got to grow up, all sorts of stuff. That's what they do, the shaming language, fellas. But either way, let's continue to listen.
But a lot of you brothers don't listen, man. I'm telling you, man, do not pay attention to these women. Get yourself together, become the best man you can be, see what the world has to offer, and then reach back. 70% of the divorces are initiated by women. Mm-hmm. This black man is now about to really go through hell. And this is his children are about to go with their mother. And irrespective of the fact that she might have been cool for a while, over time, those friends and relatives that she has, they're going to get in her head. And then at that point, what? Now you're dealing with all of them. It's the culture that's toxic, fellas. When you're dealing with Black American culture, the culture is toxic. And you don't realize it's toxic until you start traveling. And you really can't start traveling until after you get out of school. You really can't start dating and enjoying the money, especially if you got professional school under the belt. You don't know what you're missing out on. So you end up thinking, okay, I'm going to just settle down with a sister. And I'm not saying all sisters are subject to it. I'm not saying anything like that. But what I'm saying is the culture that we come up here in Black America is toxic.
Now,
it is harmful to marriage. It is.
I want you guys to listen very carefully. It's not a race thing. It's a toxic culture. We have a toxic culture. It stems from slavery. We brought out all the issues that came out of slavery, the matriarchy, the confusion, the death. Most of what we have to deal with was reactionary to the trauma that we were dealing with during slavery. And this is the culture that we had. Now, it wasn't always like that. We managed, but at some point you have to kind of just realize that this is just a situation that we're dealing with, and recognize that this culture is dangerous, it's deadly. It's the same culture that causes for us to want to shoot at each other as Black men, causes for us to hate each other. It's the same culture that causes us to oftentimes, not appreciate our true selves as men. So it's the culture, and it's something that we have to be mindful of when we're interacting with others, especially from other cultures. And the crazy thing is, you don't really know until you go to cultures that have that aren't as toxic, that are sane, so to speak, that are functional. And so let's continue listening.
The antithesis, it is the opposite of marriage. It's not working. And you brothers don't realize that until you begin to travel, and you need to get older so you can get some wisdom under your belt and get some experience. It takes time. You really can't have a real relationship while you're a young student, especially if you're a professional student. Take your time, fellas. You don't need to do yourselves like that, man. And so now we got another black family being broken up by the family court system. And this is a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I got another guy. He's a professor. He's married to a black American woman, caught her cheating.
Now, this is another story. This brother is a professor. He's actually a Nigerian man, and he married a black American woman. And so let's continue to listen.
On him, he's from Louisiana, got her cheating on him in another state. None of these people are my clients, so I'm not giving away any attorney-client privilege, but caught his wife cheating on him up in New York after 30 years of being married. It's the culture, fellas. The culture is bad. The culture is toxic. It's the operating system of a lot of these sisters that we're dealing with. It's the culture. It's not a race thing. It's the culture. There are black women of other cultures who know that who will remain dedicated to you, and they won't use excuses. They won't use these emasculating names and call you itch-ass ninja and punk-ass ninja and all these horrible names. You a F-bomb or this, that, and the other. That's a relationship that lacks respect. And the reason the relationships lack respect is because a lot of black women are taught in this toxic culture not to respect black men. And so how does your relationship stand a chance if you don't have any respect in the relationship? It's going to be, boundaries are going to constantly be violated. And if your boundaries are constantly violated, then what's going to happen? There's going to be conflict. There's going to be fighting. It's going to be name calling. And then
all right. So let me explain that concept, fellas. In my books, Rules to Live By: How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World, it's not a biography. It's not a book. Those of you all who've taken the opportunity to read the books, whether you got first chapter, second chapter, whatever, third chapter, 10th chapter, the books actually help you understand the concept of the concept of conflict as juxtaposed to peace, because there's really only two state of beings in this existence. We either have conflict or we have peace. There's either or. The thing about conflict is that you cannot have peace if there is conflict. Now, you have different divisions of conflict. You have intellectual conflict, you have spiritual conflict, you have an emotional conflict, and then of course you have physical conflict, and then there's a confluence of all of them at the same time. And so what I'm trying to explain to you guys in this particular video, and of course there's only so deep I can go, I suggest you all get the books, Rules to Live By: How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. When you have conflict in a love relationship, what does that do? It erodes the love bonds, because conflict destroys peace. And so the peace arises, the love arises because of the peace that's in there. So when I say that if you have conflict in a relationship, fighting, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whatever it is, it's going to eventually destroy the bonds that you have in that relationship, and it'll destroy the relationship. But let's continue. That's a concept you guys would have to read and check it out. Let's continue.
A situation like that, the woman is always going to win that argument. If she calls you name and you call her back, you at fault. If she calls you a name and you call her name back and she hits you and you respond, you're still at fault. It's a no-win situation in that culture. It's the culture, it's the culture, it's the culture, it's the culture. I don't want any of you black women looking at this message saying, oh, he just talking about getting Becky and Maylin and Maria. You know, all that stuff they say. It's the culture. It'd be no different than if our Nigerian sisters or Ghanaian sisters over in Africa start adapting this Black American culture, and then their culture becomes toxic. It's no different than any other English-speaking country. I mean, the same thing is happening in South Africa. So it's not that it's just germane to the United States. It's the culture. And you guys got to understand that we're dealing, you got to.
Now, the reason I emphasize the fact that it's culture, because oftentimes, brothers, when you guys date women from overseas, they'll say, oh, you just hate black women or something like that. But then, hell, you dating a black woman. If you're dating a woman who's from Colombia, you know, especially if she's Afro-Colombian or Brazilian, the vast majority of the Africans that were trapped and kidnapped and brought from Africa to the New World went to Brazil and the Caribbean. They didn't come to the United States. So in effect, they're blacker than we are. And if you're dating a woman who's from the motherland, I mean, my God. So it's not a black issue. It's not a self-hate issue. It's a culture issue. And so what you guys have to do is when the lovely ladies scream about, you just hate black women. No, it's a culture issue. And then when they say, well, oh, why do you have a problem with black American women? Because look at the culture that we come from. This is the same culture, right? This is the same culture that we have this homicide rate. This is the same culture, this racist culture that gave rise to Donald Trump and these crazy white dudes walking through, North Carolina. This is what we have. This is the culture. And you telling me it's all hunky dory when it comes to dating? No, it rubs off on it. It's a problem. Let's continue listening.
Deal with it like it is. It's the culture. This culture is corrupting black women and making them not fit for marriage. I'm not talking about weight. I'm not talking about looks. I'm not talking about age. I'm not talking about education. What I'm talking about is this culture that makes black women not respect black men. They don't have to. And because they don't have to, they don't. And because they don't, there's no respect. And there's no respect, there's going to be conflict. And when
we talked to a young man last night, they called him Flox, Flox 911, something like that. And he was kind of giving us an understanding of Latin culture, Latino culture. His parents are from El Salvador, so he's a first generation El Salvadorian. And he was basically telling us, if a man does something out of line, if he does something that's not deemed appropriate in the house, then, the father will take him to the side and have a few words with him. Right? If a woman does something in violation, then the other women in the house will talk to her. They'll have a conversation with her and they'll basically get her back in line. Now, the reason that works is because those people are all on the same page of what the culture should be. That culture helps them solve problems. Now, the crazy thing is, if we ask our lovely ladies to go address some of the cultural issues that we're having, that the women are having, then what do they say? I can't tell those girls nothing. They crazy. There is a low level threat of violence that exists between the lovely. They're not going to say anything. Even between us men, if I tell a young man, say, man, pull your pants up, he might get offended. We might come to blows or worse. And so there is no repercussions for violating the culture. And so that's why it's becoming incohesive. That's basically what I was explaining there. Let's continue. And if you appreciate this kind of conversation, continue to contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal.
There's conflict. You can't have love because conflict destroys the love. And when there's no love and there's no respect, you're just going to have war in that relationship. And men don't want to deal with that. They need peace of mind and happiness at home. And so if they're coming home to conflict, it's going to be a problem. And you ladies don't know how to control your mouths. You don't know how to control your tempers. Every time you get angry, you think you have carte blanche to say whatever you want, call these men these emasculating names. And a lot of you women are really just cowards. You're cowards because you know you can do it and get away with it.
Listen.
Because if he does something back, if he responds, he's the bad guy. He gets publicly shamed. The worst case scenario, he might end up in jail. even if he's defending himself from your physical attack. So you ladies are really cowards.
How many of you guys have been attacked by a woman, and then when you defend yourself, even if you just block yourself or you just push off, and now she calling the police, right? And he pushed me. I mean, it doesn't happen as much as it used to, but it still happens. Bottom line is, even if you talk reckless, she calls you out your name and you call her name, you still look bad because the rest of the world's going, well, she's just a woman. That's the mother of your children. That's your wife. It's your girlfriend. It is what it is. So it's a no-win situation for you fellas. I mean, it really is. Let's continue. And all of this can be avoided if you screen them better. But in order to be able to screen them better, you need to be wise. You need to be intelligent. You need to know what you're looking for and what you're not looking for. Right? So let's continue.
And so what do these brothers do? They say, I don't want to get married. That's why you got 51% of black men not married and no children because they don't even want to deal with women. You got 31% of black men married, but 5% of that, 25% of those men are married to women from other ethnicities from different cultures. So realistically, you only have about 25% of black men married to black women. That's a sad fact. And then the last 18% of black men, yeah, they might have had a baby.
Check this out. How? Okay, so 51% of black men aren't married and don't have children. No, I'm not saying they're dating women from other races. 51% of black men are so disgruntled with relationships that they aren't having children at all and aren't married. What does that say? That says that this Black American culture is headed out the door. It's gone. That's what this is saying. And so, if nothing changes, if we don't begin to change it, I mean, I would at least want these men to marry somebody and have children. I would at least want them to try and, I know, a lot of these lovely ladies would rather for you to not get married at all and not have children than to marry a woman from another ethnic group or another religion, or even a black woman from another country or another culture. That's how selfish they are. And many of you guys are so beholden to them that you'll follow that wish. So I just think that's unfortunate. We are the group of Africans on this planet that have progressed and pushed the rest of the planet towards morality. We've done so much. It'll be a shame if what we consider ADOS or FBA somehow comes up missing in the next 100 years. Yeah, there'll always be Africans on this planet, but just think about that, fellas, because that's where we're headed. Let's continue listening.
With you, but they ain't getting married either. They done. So you got 69% of black men who aren't married. You got 31% of black men who are married, and of that 31%, only about 25%, in that 31%, 25% of black men in total are married to black men. So out of 75 men, there's only black men, only 25 are married to black women. What does that tell you? And it's not like you got men from other races jumping to marry you, sisters. It's not like that. So what does that tell you, sister? It tells you the problem.
You the problem, ladies. You lovely ladies are the problem. Because if you weren't the problem, you'd have a lot more men. They'd be coming out the woodwork to try to get at you. They would be, but they're not. So what does that tell you? That tells you that it's not black men that's the problem. It's you the problem, baby. And a lot of y'all don't want to hear that. A lot of y'all want to think, oh, he should take me how I am. But the bottom line is, that's not how it works, Now, black men are tolerant. I tell these brothers all the time, y'all are just so nice and tolerant. On top of that, you got low standards. You smash anything. You smash anything. That's what you brothers do. You got low standards. You're known across the world, notoriously known for having low standards in women. You take anything, you smash anything. Women talk to you crazy. Your woman is known around the world for being strong, independent, and don't need a man. Can you imagine if those Arab women over there in Saudi Arabia start screaming and hollering about they were strong, independent, and don't need a man? Can you imagine what would happen to those Chinese women over in China, the way that place is? And you saw the report I did. Can you imagine how those South African women and other African women and those South American women start screaming about they're strong, independent, and don't need a man? Can you imagine what those men would do? See, it's just black men that are that tolerant. And you lovely ladies are lucky to have us, because if you had to deal with those Russians, it wouldn't work out very well for you. But either way, let's continue.
And if you look in your families, you see the same stuff. So stop acting like you don't know what's going on.
Now, a lot of these ladies pretend like, oh, I don't know what's wrong. You looking at how dysfunctional your own family is, and you see what's happening over there. You've been seeing this generations and generations of single mothers and women without husbands and whatnot, and you acting like you brand new to this. These ladies know what's up. You fellas gotta make sure you give these ladies credit. They know exactly what's going on. They know what the problem is. It's almost like trying to explain white supremacy, racism to white racists. They already know what the problem is. Trying to explain the problems of Black American women to Black American women, it's like they already know what the issue is. You're just wasting your breath. They know what the problem is. They know it up front and personal. You see what I'm saying? Let's continue.
Our culture is dying because it's toxic. And you can't have families if you can't have marriages, and if you don't have families, you can't have a community, period. You sisters have been vested with power and control and authority given to you by the state, given to you by the family law system, and you use it indiscriminately. That's what you're using with your power, and there's no balance. The courts are going to give the women the children, especially if they're under a certain age. They're going to give you child support along with that, especially if they're under a certain age. And it's hard as hell to get that change.
And here's the thing. Janet J said, why aren't black men marrying other women and races? Because they're stupid. They're stupid and they're loyal, and they are race loyal, more race loyal than sisters are. Janet J, why don't you come on up in here and get this? Janet, let's talk. I want to talk to some women tonight. You'll be the first one. I want to talk to the ladies tonight. I want to have this conversation. Ladies, Jan, this is for you, Jan J. Come on in. Come on and get this. I'm nice. I'm not a bad person. And you guys be mindful of your comments. We're very respectful on this page to everybody, all our guests.
It costs a lot of money. Hell, it's impossible damn near. And so now you got a bunch of young black boys being raised by their mothers, so that creates a problem of its own. But and you know, a lot of you ladies say, oh, well, his daddy ain't here. But you're not telling everybody that you ran the father away with your mouth and your foul language and your emasculating name calling and the loops and hoops you put him through just to see his children. So he's gone.
See, a lot of us don't know the story. We were told a one-sided story by our mama that our daddy he ran off on, but she didn't tell you all the pots and pans she was throwing at him, and all the you ain't this and you ain't that, and you a low down dirty this and you this, that, and the other, and all the emasculating that. She never said anything about that. It wasn't until some of you guys were 20, 30, some 40 years old that you had an opportunity to talk to your real daddy and got the real story and found out just how low down your mama was to him. And so, you know, this is something that we need to think about. All right, but let's go ahead and continue.
He's gone. Men are only going to deal with so much before they say F you and that baby or and those children. I'm done. I need my peace of mind and happiness.
And see, a lot of you ladies don't like that. You push a man so much and you expect him to keep coming back like an old beat dog. And then after a while, he says, F you and that baby, I'm gone. Right? Or he says, I'm headed to the corner store to get a pack of Newports, and you don't see him again. He's on the back on the Greyhound to Georgia. Right?
I tell y'all. And you ladies act like you don't care, and then you want to blame everybody else, except blame for yourself and what you did. It's the culture. You guys tell, brother, you sisters, get together. And y'all applaud each other for standing up. Yeah, girl, I told him this, that, and the other. I told him. All you did, you want to be right? Go ahead and be right. That's why you're going to be alone. That's why you're going to be alone and your children are running free in the street. You trying to find men like me to mentor your sons. I charge $450 an hour. You're not going to get away with that.
Hold on.